I trust you're doing well. I'm Ethan Tashobia. You're watching RTV News live from Kigali. A request has been made for Rwanda's current national budget to be increased by 219 billion Rwandan francs, with the extra money going towards, among other things, the continued fight against COVID-19. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning has told parliamentarians that the extra funds will be derived from taxes and international support. Sejan Ore kicks off tonight's edition with this report.
Dr. Ozil Ndajijimana presented a draft law seeking to amend and complement the current law pertaining to this current 2020-2021 fiscal year. The move looks to increase the 3.2457 trillion Rwandan franc budget by 6.7% to 3.4648 trillion. The minister told the parliamentarians during a virtual session that the budget's internal funding will jump from 1.6057 trillion to 1.7847 trillion Rwandan francs, and that's an increase of 11.1%. Money from taxes will increase from 1.4214 trillion to 1.5799 trillion, also up by 11%. Non-tax revenue will go up from 184.3 billion Rwandan francs to 204.8 billion. International aid will increase from 492.5 billion to 592.2 billion Rwandan francs. There is a reason for this. Non-tax revenue will increase from 184.3 billion Rwandan francs to 204.8 billion. That's an increase of 20.5 billion Rwandan francs, largely made up of support worth 16.4 billion Rwandan francs from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, that decided to erase the debt Rwanda owed it so that it can be diverted to the national budget because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Funds from international aid are expected to increase by 99.7 billion Rwandan francs from 492.5 billion to 592.2 billion Rwandan francs, largely because the World Bank has agreed to change up to 50% of its new loans to Rwanda this year into grants in order to reduce the country's national debt. Funds allocated to the regular budget will rise to 1.5954 trillion, up from 1.583 trillion Rwandan francs. Money meant for developmental projects will reach 1.3361 trillion, increasing from 1.2985 trillion Rwandan francs, with money put aside for government investments hitting 471.7 billion from 306.5 billion Rwandan francs. Parliamentarians have noted that while some sectors have seen an increase in the budget allocated to them, others have seen the opposite happen. The changes are necessary and we commend them, especially in sectors like health where they are obviously necessary. However, we have noticed a sharp increase in the budgets of some institutions, while others had theirs reduced. An example would be NIRDA, the National Industrial Research and Development Agency, that saw a budget increase of 90%. We intend to ask the minister what would require such an increase in this particular agency, when things like the Ministry of Health are getting an increase of just 8%. Things like the Ministry of Education and the Rwanda Education Board REB will see cuts of up to 14.4%. The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, MINAGRI, down 4.1%, with the Rwanda Agriculture Board RAB getting 4.9% less. This raises questions. Have some projects been abandoned? Are there restructures to be done? And that is what we will ask the Honourable Minister. The extra funds are to go to paying salaries in new institutions as well as existing ones, with some personnel now charged with fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, others in the education sector, as well as money to pay debts owed by the government and boost its investment portfolio. The draft law will now be examined by the Parliamentary Committee on National Budget and Patrimony in the Chamber of Deputies.
Thank you, Serge, for that report. Now, the newly elected African Union Commission Deputy Chairperson Monique Nsanzabaganwa has said that she'll work towards making the African Union financially self-sustaining to support the Union's Agenda 2063. Nsanzabaganwa was on February 6 elected but 42 out of the 55 votes during the 34th ordinary session of the African Union Assembly, which was held virtually. She contested against Uganda's candidate Pamela Kasabiti Mbabazi, who garnered 10 votes, and Hassan Bakat Daoud of Djibouti, who collected 2 votes. Dr. Nsanzabaganwa becomes the first female to occupy the position of the deputy chairperson. She will deputize Musa Faki Mahamat, who was also re-elected for a second 4-year term. RBA caught up with Monique Nsanzabaganwa at Kigali International Airport last night, shortly after landing from Ethiopia, to give us a snippet into what she intends to do in her new office.
The new responsibilities of a vice president or deputy chairperson of the African Union Commission include mainly financial and administrative matters of the organization. That is really the main focus. And this means everything that is from strategy to finance, to budget, to operations, to human resources, and backing all the programmatic areas of the union. So that is going to be the primary focus of my job. My expectation is to have a commission that is well performing, that is inspiring trust across the union and its stakeholders, mainly the member states, the partners, the citizens, the members inside, the employees. We want to achieve accountability and transparency. We want to really achieve results and really manage according to performance, while ensuring that we also communicate back to the citizens. We want this commission to be driving the dream of the African Union, the integration, and that citizens feel actually that they are part of that agenda, and they can see and touch tangible results.
We wish her all the best. Moving on, the Rwanda Development Board has announced that Rwanda registered investments worth $1.3 billion in 2020, a decrease of 47.1% from the previous year. In 2019, RDB registered investments worth $2.46 billion. According to RDB, the decline in investments was attributed to COVID-19 pandemic that has affected the global economy. Real estate and construction and the manufacturing accounted for 68% of all investments registered, at 48% and 20% respectively. Other sectors that attracted significant investments include agriculture, ICT, energy, mining, financial services. A total of 24,703 jobs are expected to be created by the new investments, with the manufacturing and construction sectors expected to create 8,661 and 6,372 new jobs respectively. The government aims to create 214,000 new jobs every year from investment and other employment sources. Foreign direct investments contributed 51% of the total investments registered in 2020, while joint ventures and local investments contributed 29% and 20% of investments, respectively. In comparison, foreign direct investments represented 37% of the total investment registration in 2019, while the job ventures and local investments represented 44% and 19%, respectively. Some of the largest investment projects registered in 2020 include One Acre Fund at $193 million, Phoenix Plaza at $179 million, Duval Great Lakes Limited at $69 million, Sino Corporation Limited at $66 million, Jirinzu Developers at $41 million, Petrocom Building at $35 million, and B-Box Africa Management Limited at $29 million. Other key investment projects registered during the year include a $12 million project by Noran Rwanda Limited to build East Africa's largest hub for entrepreneurship and innovation, and a $4.45 million by Nexus Academy to set up a professional aviation training academy and to offer licensed courses in flight training, aircraft maintenance, ground handling, and $26.2 million by Bralirwa Limited for the expansion of the brewery to meet the growing demand for their products in the country and for exports. Earlier today, we spoke to Zephany Nyonguru, who is the Deputy CEO of the Rwanda Development Board, to expound more on these figures. So, Mr. Zephany, we understand investment in Rwanda was hit hard. Looking at the numbers that you just released, there was a drop of about 47.1% compared to the previous year. Which sectors do you think were hit hard in Rwanda in regards to the investment?
Thank you very much. If you look into the investment, as you rightly mentioned, being in Rwanda, being in the region, being in the rest parts of the world, the investments really went down, and this was mainly caused by the pandemic. When you look into the numbers that we released, as you rightly mentioned, while in 2019 we registered in private investments or projects that were worth $2.4 billion USD, in 2020 we only registered projects worth $1.3 billion. Which sectors were hit the most? We are basically talking about sectors that were directly affected by the pandemic. Those are mainly services, financial services, education, transport, tourism. Those are really some of the key sectors that were hit by the pandemic the most. And if you go into the numbers, those are really the sectors where we didn't attract or record a lot of projects.
We also saw that the foreign direct investment contributed to 51% of the total investments registered in 2020. How would you describe that, knowing that the movement throughout the entire year of 2020 was actually not going on as expected? What does that mean to an investment environment in the country?
It's definitely a demonstration or a vote of confidence from international investors. It really shows that despite all of these issues that were caused by the pandemic, the investors see our country as a conducive environment for private sector investments. They see our country as a place where they can come, start their business, implement their activities, say their products, goods and services in Rwanda, expand, and also generate positive returns. So it's really a vote of confidence, as I mentioned, but also it provides, again, other positive and also externalities to the people of Rwanda, because all of these investments that we're talking about will create jobs. Moreover, if you're talking about all of these FDI coming to Rwanda, we're talking about foreign capital coming into our country. We're also talking about technology, new technologies coming into the market, and we're also talking about partnership with Rwanda. So we do have investment in 3 categories. We have those which are basically from foreigners. We have the ones from locals, and then we have a 3rd category where we have those partnerships. So those are really some of the benefits that we see that will be accruing to those foreign direct investments that you alluded to.
All right. As we conclude this, I want to ask, what are some of the things that you're eyeing to in going into this year, 2021?
In 2021, we shall keep working with private sector members to make sure that we help them to build resilience toward possible shocks. We still have this pandemic. It's kind of a crisis that is going on. But again, the key question is, how do you build resilience in a way that if the pandemic continues or if we have another pandemic, we do have our company surviving from this. So that's really intervention number 1. Intervention number 2 is, again, keep working on making sure that our environment still be top in terms of attractiveness to the investors, be local, be foreign. And then number 3, we're also working with the other partners like the Ministry of Finance, working on other fiscal measures to make sure that we provide some support, we provide some relief to members of the private sector who want to invest through provision of tax incentives Currently, as we speak, we're implementing a program called Manufacture and Build to Recover, where we're encouraging projects in construction, in agro-processing, in light manufacturing, to be able not only to recapture domestic markets, but also to help us to recover the overall economy. That's really some of the interventions that we are rolling out.
That is Mr. Zephany Nyonguru, who is the Deputy CEO of the Rwanda Development Board. Moving on, experts in health are advising our citizens to take precautions during this rainy season, as some may mistake COVID-19 virus symptoms to be signs of malaria. This is due to some of the similarities they share, which may lead to some people losing their lives. Jen Mutoni has this report.
It's been 5 days since Hope Konsole buried her uncle who died of COVID-19. She has decided to go to a health center in Kinyinya sector, Gasawa district, to take a test for COVID-19. Although her test came out negative, she says she had developed some signs of COVID-19. The reason I came to test for COVID-19 is because I had a headache, stomach cramps, and a severe backache. Another reason I came was because of the 3 kids whom I live with. They were infected, but have currently recovered. But the actual reason was because recently, on the 7th February, we buried my uncle, who died of COVID-19 virus. Before he passed away, he had downplayed all the signs. He used to drive trucks from Tanzania to Rwanda. Since the burial, I didn't get the chance to test for COVID-19, even though other family members had gone for testing. Iragena Florentine, health practitioner, says COVID-19 virus shares similar symptoms with malaria, which may be confusing to many people. I heard that once one gets infected with COVID-19 virus, they develop fever similar to malaria's, along with the body temperature and a headache. On one hand, COVID-19 comes with flu, cough, and chest pains. The director of Kinyinya Health Center, Mureshyankwano Bernadette, says among those that show signs of COVID-19 virus, 50% of them are infected. Here, when a patient arrives, we direct them to a room where we perform tests, and then we treat them depending on the symptoms that they have. We first perform tests for other diseases, then once we discover it's malaria, we then test them for COVID-19 virus. Depending on some of the signs we encounter, which include cough, fever, and dizziness, you'll find that 50% of them are infected. Doctors say a person can suffer from both malaria and COVID-19 virus at the same time, or even confuse one to be the other. On one hand, once one delays to get treatment for COVID-19 virus, it could lead to extreme effects. One of the members in the COVID-19 task force, Dr. Menelas Nyashimana, urges people to take tests for all diseases once they develop any sicknesses.
Currently, once a person has fever and headache, we do both tests for malaria and COVID-19 virus because it is possible to have both. It's important not to be late for treatment of any disease because the treatments aren't the same. When a person has malaria and receives treatment for malaria only to come back after 3 or 5 days saying they are still ill, then we find COVID-19 virus as well. In that case, when treatment is delayed, the effects are massive and sometimes results to death, as we've witnessed for some, which is why we advise all people to get tests for both.
During this rainy season, malaria cases are expected. The health institutions are informing all healthcare workers and patients that COVID-19 virus and malaria symptoms share some similarities, hence both must be treated at the same time. Jane Mutoni reporting for RTV.
Still on health-related matters, experts in non-communicable disease and nutrition have warned people against anything that could lead to obesity. This is after it has been confirmed by research that obese people are at risk of being critically affected by COVID-19 pandemic. We have this report.
Uze Vivin, popularly known as Miss Vivi, is a mother of 3 children living in Chichichilo district. She's 37 years old, but weighs 186 kilograms. Uze, who works as an insurance agent, is one of the first people to be infected by COVID-19 in Rwanda and was placed on oxygen support. Doctors told her that her weight was key in COVID-19 hitting her into critical condition when she contracted the virus.
At first I thought it was a normal flu. I was treated, I was given medication. The flu seemed to have reduced, but I still had a cough. Whenever I coughed, I would run out of breath. I called RBC and asked them to test me for COVID-19. Results returned positive, and I was instantly taken to the treatment center and placed on oxygen support. Obesity contributed to my sickness. I was in a critical condition, faster than normal. I have always had respiratory problems. Instead of recovering, the situation worsened.
As Rwanda and the rest of the world continues to grapple with COVID-19 pandemic, survivors of this virus, including Wizeye Vivin, calls on people who are obese to take extra precaution to the control measures put in place by health authorities due to the severity of this virus.
I'm trying to protect myself from the virus because it made me suffer. I don't want to contract COVID-19 again. People are dying. I almost died too, which means I have to be very careful. Before entering any building, I wash my hands to protect myself from the virus. People check temperature. At home, my children and I make sure we sanitize our hands as many times as possible. I don't avoid talking to people, but in doing so, I make sure to keep social distance and wear face masks properly. Even in the market where I work from, we keep social distancing and encourage people to wear their masks properly. As someone who is obese, I easily run out of breath, which is a risk in any case I contract the virus.
According to the Rwanda Biomedical Center, obese people are among the most vulnerable to COVID-19. Obesity causes poor blood circulation and affects the respiratory system. According to Dr. Naganda Evarist, the head of Non-Communicable Diseases Division at RBC.
COVID-19 can easily knock out anyone, but when it comes to the body of a person with non-communicable diseases including obesity, the person will suffer a lot more. Their blood flow is already not good because most of the blood vessels are blocked, which also causes respiratory problems. When that person contracts COVID-19, the body tries to fight it, but the resistance is not strong because of obesity. Everyone is required to devote themselves to the fight against obesity.
Doctors also say that obesity is the root cause of various diseases, including diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, among others. Mfite Leya, a nutritionist, says the main cause for obesity is eating more food than what the body needs.
Tuvuge niba ibyo urya bya buri munsi guhera mu gitondo kugeza ugiye kuryama.
If what you eat every day from morning until you go to bed is much more than what you need in your body, because you probably do not work a lot or spend a lot of time seated, then what you ate was not consumed. That unconsumed food in the body turns into fats, and that is how one begins to become obese. People should try to eat the amount of food they need in the body.
Koko nawe ubona bihuye n'ibyo ukoresha umubiri wawe.
A study from the Ministry of Health revealed in 2015 that 19% of the country's population were overweight. Among those, 4.9% were obese. The study also showed that obesity is more common among women than men.
You heard it. Residents of Muhanga town said the recently constructed paved roads are of low quality and are raising concerns about their longevity. The district administration says that the type of tarmac being used is just as strong as the regular tarmac, with the advantage being that more roads would be upgraded in the town. Umwari JD has this report.
The second phase of Rwandan government's construction of tarmac roads in Muhanga, in collaboration with the World Bank, has reached 96%. Installing streetlights is the last step before completion. However, people were surprised to see cans of paint left on the roadside while it was raining. They say this is unexpected in comparison to the previous phases of construction.
When you see this road, you can tell it was made with gravel. Everything passes through this road, car, motorbikes and bicycles. We would request that they add on another layer onto the road.
They should
redo the road and add on another layer because one cannot tell that these are new roads in comparison to the previously constructed ones. When you look at the road, you see gravel. One would have to find out whether these were the instructions given or if they used another material without consulting. This is the only way to see how to move forward.
Locals in Ruvumera point out other issues related to poor water management, but the administration says this is a problem related to the fact that some of the residents of this road do not collect water from the roofs of their homes. Despite this, everyone is aware of the significant changes along this road.
One can see that the road is not leveled. It is something they should look into.
Mayor of Muhanga District, Kayitare Jacqueline, assures residents, drivers and pedestrians that the road is well built and of high quality. It was built using the required budget and now serves as a highway.
abantu babireba hari umuhanda ukirangira bakabonamo turiya tubuye bakibwira ko ariko bizahora ariko ni ibintu.
When people see this road and see gravel, they think it will not change. It's very technical. The more this road is used, the firmer it will become. The choice of Bikush was motivated for economic and budgetary reasons, especially in this period of the COVID-19 pandemic. Long roads had to be built and at a lower cost. Construction experts say 800 million Rwanda francs is used to build 1 kilometer of a regular paved road. The new road under construction in Muhanga town has a budget for approximately 1.5 kilometers. The current phase of road construction in the city of Muhanga, in collaboration with the World Bank, includes a 7-kilometer budget of 5 billion Rwanda francs. This is the second section of the Misizi Road and another roundabout of Ruvumera. The following 6-kilometer project will be carried out in Gahogo, part of Ruli in Shogwe sector, according to the Muhanga District Infrastructure Department. Umngadi Jade, RTV News.
And that brings us to the end of tonight's edition indeed. On behalf of the entire news production team, many thanks for your company tonight. Stay well and safe. I'm Ethan Tashavia. Bye for now.